Hi, welcome back. It's Wanlin, la princesse des beaux-arts. Today I want to talk specifically about something that happened this morning that made me realize how I used to wish so hard that I were born into a wealthy family with rich, loving parents who would support me unconditionally in everything I wanted to achieve and create and would just be perfect. Which I think most children go through before we mature and understand the other side's perspective. Whew. And now I want to explain why I'm so glad and so grateful that did not happen. Okay? Why I'm so grateful that I did not have the so-called perfect, wealthy parents. So this comes from a story I have this morning to share. So last night I was looking for a new winter coat. There are lots of sales going on, and you can't outshop a Libra. I have a talent for this, okay? Not only do I want the best quality, but I want the best deal. So I saw this gorgeous fur-lined white coat with lambskin trim and 90% duck down, 10% feather filling. And it was 60% off. And for the price they were selling it at, you can't buy anything like that. It's just you have to be extremely lucky. And I was, because there was one left. It was in the London store. And I skedaddled this morning to go try it on and buy it ASAP because there was one left in my size. And while I was in the store, I noticed the sales assistants were occupied with these two girls. They're these two Chinese girls. I can tell they're from mainland China and they study abroad and live in London. And one of them, well, they were filming, okay? One of them was trying on these $1,000 furs, and the other girl, who was her friend, they were friends from what I could tell, was filming and taking videos, photos. And just throughout their conversation while I was in the store, it made me think back to when I used to be such a spoiled brat. I say this with so much love and compassion, but also awareness of how I used to be. And I do not judge these girls at all, because many times in my life, I have been the complaining one. Why are you so like this? Why can't you be like this kind of person? And oh my God, this is just not enough. Or why can't you be better for me? The extremely demanding, complaining, whiny kind of person, perfectionist. So pretty much during this conversation that I can't help but overhear, because these girls were speaking quite loudly in Chinese, which I understand, and they also got in a sort of argument, okay, between friends. So the one who was trying on jackets, she was, I think, filming some sort of promotional content for social media, I'm guessing. And the other girl, her friend, was taking all of these things just as a volunteer, basically. And they got in a fight because the girl who was taking the footage felt she was complaining to her friend about how you're so ungrateful. I take time out of my day, every second of my life. I'm never getting back. And you're acting like this. I invite you to come over. I have my own personal discount here. I'm taking all these photos and pictures for you. Why can't you act more grateful that I'm your friend? Why can't you be a better friend, basically? Complaining. And the other girl just looking at her phone, looking down and just not responding. And that was phase one of their conversation. Many times in my life, I have been the one who tolerated situations like that. And I was both the girl ignoring, looking down, pretending like I did nothing wrong. And I was also the girl tolerating that bullshit and sacrificing myself, giving away my time and energy to someone who didn't appreciate it. I've been both, so I don't judge, okay? I think it's important for the story though. So the second part of the conversation while I was trying on my coat, which was absolutely perfect. Yes, I got it. Yes, it was a legendary steal. The second part of the conversation, these two girls were talking about dating guys, okay? They were talking about how you can bully men into spending money on you. And they were like comparing different girls that they knew, gossiping pretty much. For example, saying like this girl, she asked her boyfriend to buy her something very expensive, but he just refused. Other girl goes, but why, doesn't he love her? Yeah, but she's just not worth it. That girl said that, and she felt really like happy saying that out loud. It gave her satisfaction. And then she goes on to say, like this guy, he's asked me to marry him. He's proposed to me already, like pretty much begging. And they kept on talking about like how they're very materialistic in that sense, talking about like what these dudes could like send them in money or buy them. And near the end, they returned to their fight about like how one of them is filming the other and she's not appreciating it, and then she feels like kind of guilty but doesn't want to acknowledge it. It's like all that, like that friendship drama when you don't have like true love and harmony in a relationship, whether that's a friendship or romantic. So after witnessing this, what did I learn? I learned that this was God. God doesn't, okay, I truly believe coincidences don't exist. So I noticed like this scene is unusual. So anytime there's something unusual in your daily reality that you wouldn't see like on a day-to-day basis, you got to ask like, why did God show you this in this day of your life? And I was thinking to myself, I care about having a beautiful life. I care about nice things. I'm a Libra, I'm a Leo rising. I like that nice materials. But I got to remember at the end of the day, these are just accessories to my life, to my spirit, to my soul, to what I am, literally, as an existence. It's an accessory. It's an item of clothing. I should never act or live with that as my validation, with that as my identity. So I was thinking, okay, God, you showed me this scene with these girls fighting. Now, in Chinese, there's an expression called fu er dai, which means a wealthy second generation. So pretty much these are the oftentimes only children of Chinese people who have like accumulated some wealth in whatever industry they have, and they want to spoil their children with everything that they did not get growing up, like post-cultural revolution, all that famine and poverty. And because in Chinese culture, we care a lot about saving face, having a good face. So like, 不要丢脸，要好面子. So basically, you care a lot about appearance and fitting in, and actually, but also like standing out. That's why Chinese people love logos, love designer, love jewelry and bling, in ways that Europeans don't really understand how ostentatious that is. But I saw these girls, and I could tell that they're not necessarily concerned with being kind to the salespeople. That's why the Chinese lady who worked there as a sales associate, she was quite like, she was a bit surprised, but also really appreciated how sweet I was, which is just this is my default setting now, because I feel like life would just be so much better if everyone could be just a little, considerate and have a rounded corners. But that's my take, okay? So she was actually kind of surprised. And I know that sometimes, especially nowadays in retail, you feel like sometimes the meaner you are, the more important you are, but that's not how I live. That's not what I agree with. And I feel like the girls that I saw that day, they were kind of like that. And I was taking this as a chance to see like what parts of myself are still too prideful, because I want to tell you something. Why am I grateful that I was not born with rich parents that gave me everything? Because first of all, when you earn something, or when you grow up not having something and then you get it, after years of not having that, I feel like you have a different level of appreciation for what that really means. Because it's not just like a random number or a card that you can tap and then you just get whatever and it has like no substance. You see like how much work goes into making the money to get you something you want, whether it's a convenience or an object. So one thing that came to my mind was one aspect of wealth. I realized that if I were in their situation, I would probably do the same or like relate to that, was when you have resources, when you have money, whatever, you do not need to be kind or considerate to others in the same way as if you as someone who doesn't. So basically, kindness and consideration for others, it's no longer a requirement for your advancement and survival in society. When you have resources, including money, it acts as this protection where it amplifies you for more of who you are, obviously, kind of like energy, like electricity or heat. It amplifies more of who you are. But if you don't know how to handle it, it can be a horrible disaster in the sense that if someone becomes just entitled, that can be one of the most disastrous outcomes. And they like pollute. It's like almost like a sort of pollution. When you encounter someone like that, you feel disturbed afterwards. Someone who's entitled and thinks they're better than you, which I'm going to say right now, pride is a shadow aspect of low self-esteem. Excess pride is the same as low self-esteem. It's like basically low self-esteem in disguise, because why would someone be such a brat, let's say? And this is shadow work that I did on myself. I realized that when you have your sense of validation and worth and superiority based on something you did not earn, that perhaps you were born into or you just like received by stroke of fortune, when you have your sense of identity and value of yourself on something you did not earn, how sad is that? If that were me, I understand why I would have to be prideful in a way to cope with this. This is why in my Kabbalah class, I learned that there is this like phenomena with wealthy, successful parents. Sometimes they just have a tendency to a disastrous home life or like messed up kids. And then my Kabbalah teacher was like, yeah, I started seeing this phenomena in the people I would counsel. And I was thinking, why is this? It's because of this concept that I learned from class was bread of shame. We feel shameful for things we didn't earn. This is why when you have self-sacrificing parents, all of their attention and sacrifice that you did not ask for, if you don't have the right perspective and maturity to appreciate it, it can be so repulsive and burdensome, and you just want to stay away far as possible from that. So that's one aspect. And one phenomena I will say about this so-called Fu Arda, or like wealthy second generation, there are stories in the news, you can look them up, about these sorts of children who will like get into fatal car accidents and kill people from reckless driving. And their parents, who are likely government officials or some other like big wig, they'll just like have to eventually publicly apologize or like pay for it, pay to make things okay. Just pay. I don't think inherently this morning in that boutique, I don't think that I am better than those girls that I was listening to. That was, I wouldn't consider it eavesdropping because they were literally like almost yelling at each other in Chinese. And the sales associates, they seem like so used to this. But sadly, but I realized if I were born in their circumstances and their conditions, I probably would feel the same way. And like the odds would be I would be just like them. So this is why I don't believe in judgment. When you judge another person, you're actually blocking off so much self-awareness that you could have in yourself. Because I believe truly that in our day-to-day surroundings, we constantly see examples of our shadow aspects being triggered so that we can bring them to light and actually integrate, fix, heal them to be a more empowered, self-aware individual, and consequently shine brighter in the world and leave a better impact, or just leave the people who meet us in each encounter feeling better afterwards than before. Now, I realized for the longest time, I wish that I had different parents. I wish that I did not have to worry about earning a living. I wish that I could have all the money to just make art and have no limitations, not worry about the future, and everything would be okay. And like, why wasn't I born to this? Blah, 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 blah. Which, listen, every person, if they wanted to complain about their parents, you could write a list and it would never end. It would be custom tailored to every family. It would go on and on forever. There are no perfect parents. The only perfection I realize that exists, it doesn't exist in physical reality. Perfection, miracles, it exists in our perception of the world. This is why, from my perspective now, and my perception, my family is the best family I could ever have hoped to have, and my soul chose this. From my perspective and understanding now, I would not have had it any other way going into this life. Because I realized people will always find something to complain about, whether you're poor or wealthy, no matter what culture you're from, what socioeconomic class, what country, city, whatever, we can always find things to complain about. This is why I don't think it's fair to use like wealthy people as scapegoats. I don't think it's fair to like consider a whole class of people inferior because they don't make as much money. I don't believe in this. I think that every time you have a hierarchy, you are inside of you prescribing to some sort of inferiority inherently when you subscribe to these power dynamics, which is very common in today's society, okay? So back on the topic of like parents, and I realized that the perfect parents that I wanted, I had to become that for myself. So for the longest time, I would think like, I think also there's a sort of shame and embarrassment that hits so deep when you don't feel proud or appreciative of your parents. When you don't feel appreciative, grateful, proud of your family, where you come from, that can create a level of shame that just almost reeks off of you on your day-to-day life. And people can sense that, strangers can sense that, people who interview you or your friends or just people anywhere, we can sense out each other's insecurities or dreams, thoughts, hopes, whatever, even if we're not aware of it, because we're all extremely sensitive, energetic beings. It's just that in the modern society, maybe we have become closed off to that, okay? But I will tell you that when you're healing your self-worth, your body, your spirit, when you're doing that healing, oftentimes the first process is the family, because a lot of people don't grow up in the families that they feel they were meant for. That was me for the longest time. And what comes as a result? Listen, I realized at one point that the issues and limitations and abuses, as I thought in the past, that my parents afflicted upon me, if I can even say that, which I don't, it's like 1% of what they experienced when they were growing up. To be fully honest, when I hear the stories about my mom's childhood and the way her mom treated her, I'm like, oh my God, you broke a generational curse. Why am I not more grateful for that? You're like the way her mom treated her compared to how she treated me. She promised herself that she would be a loving mom and do the best for me. And in spite of all her flaws, like me thinking, Mom, why can't you be like this? Why can't you be like that? Well, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed because you didn't do XYZ for me. When I realized like how far she has gone considering where she's come from, I am amazed. And I feel like always having that room for growth, for you to earn things on your own, to learn to create your life on your own without everything being handed to you, that is such an opportunity. That is such a powerful environment to be born into. Where I personally, I wasn't born into, okay, I'm gonna admit the first building I ever lived in, it was like a dump, but like I didn't suffer that much from this because like my parents, they were immigrants to Canada, so they like built from pretty much nothing this life where I could have a house in the US. I could go to nice schools, take classes for music, swimming, which I thought I would like complain so hard. Like swimming is suffering. The only thing that like why didn't you make me do ballet, huh? Why didn't you make me do fencing? Why'd you have to do swimming? Just because like all the other Asian kids did it? I hate swimming. The only thing that stopped me from like completely jumping out of the car on my way to swim practice when my parents were driving me was the fact that I hated it so much. Okay. The fact that I knew if I were going to drown, at least the swim coach would not let me die. That I'm pretty sure he would like take me to the hospital because they don't want to be liable. And in America, everyone sues everyone. But seriously, that was my perspective, which was absolutely true. But from my parents' perspective, I didn't see that. Do you understand? We are all like pixels in a picture or threads in a tapestry. We have our own limited perspective, and miracles happen. Magic happens in our lives when we can actually like escape from this 2D perspective to like this bird's eye view and just like see things for what they are in a different way. That creates miracles, that creates understanding and like fosters love. Because like I think all of the problems in the world comes from this lack of love that people have accepted, which I'm reading this book called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, which is actually so wonderful. I highly recommend. You know, this is the kind of book that finds you when you're ready to leave your cynic phase, which a lot of artists and young people who care a lot about the world deeply go through. Like we go through this phase of, why was I born? Why is the world like this? Like, this is so fucked up. Why am I alive? But you know, you realize eventually that it is your great gift and task to heal everyone and yourself included, bit by projecting the world you want into reality, because it's not the other way around. So what did I learn this morning? Well, just from seeing these girls who could, I'm pretty sure, buy anything they want, and yet they weren't happy. They didn't feel happy to me. Like I don't think I would want to be around them, or I wouldn't trade my lives with them, even if they had like 100 times more financially than me. I don't see why I would. And in that moment where I did not in that moment judge them at all, which I think was like a huge win for me because I'm a Leo rising. I'm very prideful sometimes. One of the shadow aspects of Leos, I will tell you, is thinking you're the shit and that you're like really prideful and loyal, but to a fault, in the sense that when you think you're better than someone, you actually stop yourself from connecting to them and gaining an audience. By being perfect constantly, you don't get your audience. You don't get that vulnerability for others to see who you really are. And when you think you're better than someone, or when you think you're worse, inferior to someone, you're like instantly creating disconnect. So a lot of like celebrities or actresses, stars, whatever, public figures, they're Leo risings. But the issue with that, I found as a Leo rising, is when you like feel like I dress better than you, or I'm more cultured than you, or it's it's dumb. You know why it's dumb? Because I used to be someone who didn't like learn that. I wasn't always this great dresser. I wasn't always like trying to cultivate myself or better myself or into spirituality and all of that. Was I less of a human being? Was I worth less back then? No, I don't think so. So when you have pride, I realize it cuts you off from deeper connection. Because, like, let me tell you, people can sense when someone else in an interaction, people can sense when you're dealing with another person, when they subconsciously like think they're better or inferior to you. And it's off-putting either way, okay? I'll put that out there. So I'm really proud of myself because in this moment in the clothing boutique this morning, I did not judge these girls because I used to be that girl in Paris when I was living by myself, going through like horrible relationship experiences because of my unhealed relationships to men, to my father figure, to myself, not taking care of my inner child, repressing all of the crap that was in my system through eating or starving myself or buying things, buying loads of clothes, which none of them I have anymore. Let me tell you, never buy something to impress yourself or anyone else because those things, they will not last. Because every time you wear them, you'll be reminded of the lack that motivated you to buy them. And human beings, we do things in order to take, to get more energy, whether it's love, confidence, validation, or a semblance of that. But when we take action in order to take, to receive something, we actually have less. And sometimes when we realize we're like content with what we have and we give and share with others, we somehow get more paradoxically. Yeah. It's like when I gave up the idea of having the perfect parents, so to speak, and I learned to sort of parent myself and be that so-called perfect parent that I would want for myself, eat nice things, speak kindly to myself, have a sweet, caring, supportive internal dialogue, maintain healthy, loving relationships with all of my friends who are top-notch, dressing well and comfortably, living in a clean home, thinking thoughts that are helpful to me and help me grow, taking myself to nice restaurants or art museums or concerts, being the perfect parent, so to speak, for myself, and accepting that my parents are just the way they are, and I love them the way they are, and I don't need them to change to be happy. That's the moment where my entire family dynamic healed. And like, I used to be like growing up, I used to beg my dad to buy me clothes because I thought that would make me happy. I begged my dad to like buy me expensive stuff because I thought that's how you expressed love. And that's sort of like how they do it. I think a lot of immigrant parents, like, they might not say like, I love you 100 times per day, but you can see from how hard they work to support you that they care so much. And when I finally accepted my parents just for who they are, not wanting to change a thing, and accepting that I am the perfect parent for myself, for my inner child, that's when my dad like stopped nitpicking on me somehow. He was a lot more kinder because I was kinder to him. I didn't broadcast, listen, in these toxic dynamics or like harmful dynamics, what happens is we see the other person through a filter of flaws and we move through the world presuming those flaws to be true and ever present. And the other person mirrors that reality back to us. And it's like this vicious cycle bouncing off one another. It's like, you can't do this right and you can't do this right. Same with this argument between these two so-called friends. at this clothing store. Same happens between parents and kids, same between like employee and boss. Like it happens everywhere. Listen, you have to be the change that you want to experience in the world instead of like fighting and judging, which can actually make it worse. Like if I criticize my parents nonstop, how would that give me the family life I want? It wouldn't. It would be like when I was much younger, I would get like lots of mosquito bites during the summer in Texas, in the South. And I'm the type of person who would like scratch my mosquito bites until they would bleed profusely. And then when they're about to heal, I would just like pick off the scab because it was itchy, and then I would scratch it again and it would keep on bleeding, and there'd be a scar and it would take like so long to disappear. When you complain, pick on another person, and like complain, expect them to be different from how they are instead of just accepting them and embodying like the version of you that has what you want, instead of complaining about others, telling them this, hey, this is what I deserve, blah, 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 blah. When you're constantly picking on others instead of changing yourself or focusing on yourself, it's like scratching a mosquito bite nonstop until it bleeds. It feels good. Let me tell you, it's indulgent. Self-pity, complaining, all of that, self-sabotage, it's self-indulgent. It feels good. It's that like part of our lower selves telling us, convincing us it actually does feel good. Because like sometimes when something bad happens to you, or like someone, let's say for example, you're me in a museum and some old Italian dude like secretly takes pictures of you. I am so tempted. Like, let me tell you, I'm so tempted to like go punch them in the face and kick them in the teeth, and then like, I don't know, turn him into a donkey and use him for circus. I don't know, like insert your choice of cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah, am I tempted to do that? Yeah. Would it feel good in the moment? Hell yeah. But the thing is, sometimes would it feel that did I get a lot of enjoyment in the past from fantasizing about ways that I could torture my ex if I had dark magical powers, which I do, but I don't use them. Did I get a lot of pleasure from that? Yes, I did. Did it make my life better long term? No. Okay, so this is the part where I'm gonna tell you, just remember, like, I spoke today specifically about my parents, okay? First step to healing, if you have these negative family dynamics, I know that the issue with family is because they're the people who gave you life, and parents are sort of the model for who we expect to give us unconditional love in this world. When we're not loved as children the way that we should have been in our minds, or that we felt we needed, all of those flaws or shortcomings from our parents, who oftentimes did the best they could with what they had, those flaws feel extra unforgivable. It's like the issue, like compared to a relationship, compared to a friendship, when you have a falling out, okay, even if you have a divorce, at the end of the day, once upon a time, they were strangers, right? So somehow that feels more forgivable than if they were your parents. Because why did you give birth to me? If you made me, aren't you supposed to love me without like enforcing your idea of how I should be onto me? I'm not a proxy for how you think life should be lived. I'm not a vicarious means or status symbol or whatever, insert whatever you want to call it, for you. I am my own person. Yeah, that is a huge challenge when you're doing the fundamental levels of healing. And it just made me realize a lot of the things that I used to wish could be different in my life, I'm actually so grateful that they are exactly how they unfolded, and I would not trade it for anything else. Like, this includes, like, why couldn't I have been born with rich parents? Why couldn't I have been born like super photogenic and good looking all throughout my younger years? Why did I have to have such low self-esteem or be overweight or all have those like issues eating food, feeling I didn't deserve to eat, or feeling constantly ashamed to be around my classmates when my parents were around, not like dreaming or pretending even that like certain historical figures were my parents. Sometimes I would fantasize that the Duchess of Windsor, Wallis Simpson was my mom. I would fantasize about like how cool life would be if she were my mom. The issue is, it's nice to admire people, nice to admire historical figures, whatever, that you respect, but once you realize that everything that happened to you was not a coincidence, including these seemingly surprising events in your day-to-day life, like these two girls squabbling in the clothing boutique this morning, once you realize all of that is it's like a potential key to unlock some magic in your life through self-awareness, through personal growth, which gives you like so much energy, so much spiritual power to consequently create whatever you want in life without limitations. Because let me tell you, the limitations we have in creating whatever we want from ourselves, we see them on a day-to-day basis modeled to us. And until we can identify them and exorcise them from ourselves, we're limited by them. It's just like this phrase came to my head this morning that I'm going to put in an artwork, which is, the devil couldn't get to me, so he convinced me that I could free myself by imprisoning others. We do this on a day-to-day basis when we judge other people, like, why is she so XYZ, ugly, fat, judgmental, annoying? Why are they so gossipy? Why are they so immature? We all have these aspects inside of ourselves. And the moments, just like these moments in our day-to-day life that sort of just like go whoa to us, they're signs from God telling you, signs from the universe, whatever you want to call it, telling you, hey, watch out. This is something that could teach you an important lesson to like cut off a lot of these chains that you have in yourself that you don't notice yet, right? So what did I notice this morning when I was in this clothing boutique with these, I'm presuming, really wealthy girls who could buy anything they wanted, and yet they were fighting, they were unhappy, they were complaining, they were gossiping, they were like judging other girls in their friend group and talking shit. What was this telling me? Maybe it was telling me that, hey, if you grew up the way you used to wish for, so to speak, unlimited money, resources, whatever, you can buy anything you want, you just tap a card and there you go, your parents take care of everything. Maybe things wouldn't have turned out the way you expected, and then you would be sad again, but it would be for different reasons. There's a beautiful book by Viktor Frankl, who is this doctor that survived the Holocaust, called Man's Search for Meaning. And there's this one beautiful metaphor he uses, is that suffering and misery or sadness, all of that is kind of like gas in a gas chamber. It fills whatever size of the room it's in. So it doesn't matter if it's a small room or a big room, doesn't matter what family life or environment you're born into, suffering, none of us escapes it. And until we learn how to face it and grow, turn that shit into fertilizer, so to speak, I think we'll constantly feel unsatisfied. Yeah. Wow, that went along a lot broader than I expected. But I hope that this gave you some reassurance and some clarity onto perhaps what parts of your life you feel unsatisfied, but perhaps you notice that, hey, perhaps this is actually a gift, but you don't have the perspective yet to see how things unfold for you. okay? I am sending you so much love and abundance and good wishes. Happy New Year. Love you all so much. You can find me on Instagram under La Princesse des Beaux-Arts. You can also call me and book that on my website, and I will speak to you very soon, okay? Please go like call your parents and tell them you love them. I mean, I know I think generally speaking, we don't do that enough. We as in like children. Okay, that's it for today. I love you all so much. Take care. Bye bye. I wish you a beautiful life. Au revoir. Do you like my little hat? It's really cute. Boop, boop, boop. Also, shopping rules from Wan Lin, from a Libra. Never pay full price, never pay retail. Also, quality materials over brand. Nowadays, like luxury basically is a joke. So at the end of the day, what you need is quality, which is good materials, good construction, and the best value. Because let me tell you, rich people, like truly wealthy people who can generate money, not just spend it. I've noticed like they respect money, and part of respecting money, which there's this lady on Instagram, Linnea, Rich Girl Diet. She has this phrase that I love. It's like rich girl staying rich. So like she'll have a massive diamond ring and like eat the best foods and wear the nicest furs, but she'll like fly premium economy because for that price you could buy like I don't know an Hermes bag or whatever. She has this phrase like going rich girl staying rich. Please do that. Yeah, shopping rules. Best value, best quality, that is true luxury. Not caring about the brand or logo because that's like a psychological trick anyways. The coat I got is so pretty. It has this gorgeous soft fur trim and it's lined with agneau, so lamb skin. And even the lining, though it's synthetic inside the pockets, it feels so silky, so nice. And it's duck, 10% duck feathers, 90% duck down. So it's basically like wearing a bed. It's like wearing a bed in public, which is so freaking amazing. And my parents, like I don't know if your parents do this, especially like Asian parents. They're always telling you to like dress warm, especially if you're a girl. Okay, especially if you're a girl. I know that. Okay, I know my immigrant friends, girls. I know like your parents have been chasing you to like wear warm coats and whatever, especially on your periods. Like if you eat ice cream, you're gonna die, whatever, right? Yeah, but I got this coat because I don't have a puffer coat. I donated mine because I've had it for a long time, and I've been in the market for a new one. And I realized quality is really everything. Check your materials label, check your composition. Okay, I'll do another video on shopping if that ever comes to mind. But there you go. That's it for today. It's been long enough. I love you all so much. I'm starting my second module of my healer course at Harry Edwards tomorrow and the day after. I will keep you updated. Okay, bye.